You might find this surprising, but most internal combustion engines were designed without a filter. Not to say they didn't have any filtration, but what that means, they didn't have modern spin-on full flow filters like we're used to today. In fact, they had screens, very basic screens. Many airplanes like this one behind me have been flying for many years, this one in particular, almost 75 years, without a modern spin-on filter. Now, that's not to say there isn't any way to trap contaminants or particles that could develop inside the engine, but the technology has changed quite a bit. Well, what does this do operationally? Without a full flow spin-on filter as we know it, it reduces your oil change interval. With just a screen, manufacturer recommends 25 hours between oil changes, inspection, and or cleaning. When you go to a modern spin-on full flow filter, you can increase that interval up to 50 hours. And I was actually looking in the book of my my 182 yesterday, and they actually say up to 100 hours between oil changes, but 50 hours between changing the filter. This is your basic modern spin-on filter. Media inside traps any of the contaminants, and this is, for comparison, the old screen filter. It's just a piece of mesh that catches any large contaminants or particles that are gonna potentially harm the engine. It doesn't really filter out any fine particulates smaller than the openings in that screen. And while this screen does work okay, having something like a spin-on full flow filter is definitely better. And like I said, you can also increase your oil change intervals. This is where the screen goes. It's just a big opening in the oil pump housing. It comes out and you inspect it and put it back in and done. Well, if you want to put on a modern filter, you need some way to adapt this to the engine. So after doing a bunch of homework, I found this is the best adapter available. It's the Tempest oil filter adapter by Stratus Tool Technologies. What it does, this threads into where the screen was previously installed. This is what they call a spool. This is the sleeve, and you can adjust this or rotate it however you need to get the most clearance out of the filter. And then you've got a gasket set. There was some issues with previous design gaskets. So Tempest, awesome company, by the way, has done some research and they developed this new gasket, got rid of the old fiber gasket. This is a Teflon, the white one we're talking about. It's basically a Teflon impregnated gasket with a stainless steel core. I don't know if you can see that. This seems to be working pretty good. As long as you install this thing properly according to the directions, there are no issues with this thing losing torque or leaking or anything to the like. Tempest makes great stuff. Any chance to run anything they have, I always try to jump on it. I love their spark plugs, I love their filters, and this filter adapter is highly recommended. It's the one that I went with, and yeah, I'm gonna go install it right now in the Birddog. Inside the kit, as always, comes with everything you need. Really nice paperwork, plans, instructions for continued airworthiness, ICAs, the STC paperwork, obviously the parts, and the filter. Step one, they have you remove the existing screen, obviously, and go ahead and clean inside the housing. They have you remove any of the oil, whether you use a rag or siphon it out or whatever you use, and then make sure that all the threads here are nice and clean. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna prep the spool to make sure it's ready to go into the engine. We're gonna lubricate all of these rotating surfaces with fresh engine oil and make sure the threads are clean and get this thing ready. Also, we're gonna prep the gaskets to go in as well. Before I forget, one other thing to note, not only does this thing get torqued to 65 foot-pounds, it gets safety wired twice. So as you can see, there's holes on this surface, and there's two holes here. One is for the oil filter, but the other is to safety wire this sleeve to the engine and this spool to the engine. So these get safety wired independently of each other. You torque it down, safety that. But there isn't enough safety wire holes on the engine. So what I had to do was fabricate a little tab to go underneath one of the studs so I can accommodate safety wire directly to the engine. So this is where the spool is gonna mount, and this is, the sleeve and all that are gonna be in here, the filter is gonna be here, and I need to safety wire to one of these studs. I put it right next to the location where the new filter adapter is gonna go. So now I have two safety wire holes, and that should accommodate all my needs. So lubricate the threads, the large diameter, and under the flange. Clean engine oil. Lubricate inside the diameter and the top surface of the sleeve. So inside there and around there. Last but not least, lubricate the copper gasket.
Now here's a hotly debated topic. Which way does the copper gasket go? I know a lot of people argue about this, but it's very clear in the instructions here, so I think this settles it.
Install the copper gasket onto the spool with the split side of the gasket turned away from the spool's flange. So split side away from the flange. So that's towards the engine. Split side towards the engine. So everything's nice and lubricated. Nice and lubed up. Slide the spool through the sleeve's bore and place the lower gasket on the spool. All right, now we fit it into the engine. And using a socket, you just carefully thread it into place just so that it's snug. I'm just doing this by hand. I don't even have a ratchet or anything. Just a couple turns with the ratchet at the end, just to get it snug. Nice. Okay, now we temporarily position the filter on here to make sure that we have clearance in all directions. They wanted instructions call out for 1/2 inch clearance all the way around, which looks like it shouldn't be a problem. There's tons of room. This is actually a great place for an oil filter. So yeah, boy, that's nice. At this point, we're getting pretty close to torque it down. They have you put a witness mark between the sleeve and the engine so that you can see if it turns. Torque stripe witness mark, whatever you want to call it. And then they have you fabricate or figure out some kind of a block arrangement so that when you torque the spool, the sleeve won't rotate. And you want to make sure this is braced up against some part of the structure or engine so that it can resist the turning forces for the amount of torque you're putting on here, which is 65 foot-pounds. So I've got my match mark in place. I got my wooden block in place. They say also, if you need to, you could use a 1 1/4 inch open end wrench if that works better for you. Put the block between the sleeve and the suitable point of resistance and check your match marks. If they're displaced more than a 32nd of an inch, remove the spool, reinstall. So now that I'm happy, my match marks are good, the block is good, it's time to torque this thing. And obviously use of a torque wrench is mandatory per the ICA. When the spool is tightened at 65 foot-pounds of torque and the match marks are aligned within limits, apply tamper seal across the joint of the sleeve and oil pump body. Remove the wooden block. 65 foot-pounds. There it is. Let's check the witness marks. All right, the marks look like they're still within 1/32 of an inch, so I'm good with that. Get rid of my wood blocks. Double check the instructions. When the spool is tightened, 65 foot-pounds, match marks are aligned, apply tamper seal. After it's torqued, you just safety wire the spool to the engine and the sleeve to the engine. And they're both going to my tab right here with a piece of Teflon tube on top of the safety just so it doesn't chew into the metal. Install the oil filter, got some notes on there, today's date, tack time, registration, stuff like that. I also put a note just that it's the filter only because my oil change wasn't due at this time. Torque that thing 16 to 18 foot-pounds. 17 foot-pounds. Safety wire or safety cable, and done. Last but not least, anything that was removed from the engine, reinstall, starter, whatever. In this case, I didn't have to do much. I did have to remove the oil temperature probe, so that's going in now with the new copper gasket. Torque that down, safety wire it, and done. Well, that's it. Aside from the paperwork like logbook entry 337, do an engine test run, quick leak check, put the cowl back on this thing, go fly. And of course, check the oil level. Make sure that if you lost any oil, you just replenish it for whatever your system's operating at. Well, super excited. Can't wait to go fly this thing. Glad I have a filter adapter on there. Thank you, Tempest. You guys are amazing, which is no surprise because you're part of McFarlane. Also amazing. Love these guys. Awesome products. Really just can't go wrong with anything from these two companies. Super excited. Birddog's got an oil filter adapter, which, by the way, is specific to the Birddog only. They do make other options for other engines, but like, how many companies are out there supporting the little guy? You know, so I mean, these guys are doing huge things for aviation. Who else can you say that about? Yeah, there's other companies out there that are making generic products, but I mean, Tempest, McFarlane, they go above and beyond. Any chance I have to put something of theirs on my airplanes, without a doubt, that's the first choice. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. See you at Oshkosh.